Nigerian sailor Harrison O'Keefe was carrying out his duties aboard a vessel in the open sea when disaster struck. At around 5 a.m., while he was sitting in the bathroom, the ship suddenly began to sink. The vessel eventually settled nearly 30 meters below the surface in the cold ocean. At the time, O'Keefe was wearing only his underwear. Remarkably, he survived thanks to an air pocket that formed inside the submerged ship. Trapped beneath the sea, he endured a total of 60 hours in the freezing conditions before rescue divers finally discovered and brought him to safety. On the night of July 9, 1958, a massive earthquake struck Alaska, triggering a tsunami that rose more than 500 meters high, over twice the height of the Eiffel Tower. At the time, a man named Howard Ulrich was fishing with his 8-year-old son when they spotted the gigantic wave racing toward the shore at nearly 160 kilometers per hour. The enormous wall of water swept them up, and it seemed certain they would die. But something unbelievable happened. Instead of capsizing their boat, the tsunami lifted it higher and higher until it was deposited among the treetops. Against all odds, they survived one of the most powerful tsunamis ever recorded. Near the town of Sylacauga, Alabama, a young woman named Ann Hodges was relaxing on her couch late in the morning, wrapped in a blanket, when something extraordinary happened. Without warning, a large meteorite crashed through the roof of her house. It struck a radio, bounced off it, and slammed into her thigh, leaving a massive bruise the size of a pineapple. Remarkably, Ann survived. If the blanket and the radio had not absorbed part of the impact, the meteorite could have struck her directly in the head. To this day, she remains one of the very few people ever known to have been hit by a meteorite and lived to tell the story. 1985. The Peruvian Andes. Joe Simpson and Simon Yates became the first climbers in history to successfully conquer the incredibly difficult west face of Sula Grande. But the descent turned into a nightmare. The two men were connected by a rope as they made their way down the mountain. Then, in a single moment, Joe lost his footing and was left hanging over a cliff, putting Simon's life in immediate danger. Faced with an impossible choice, Simon made a terrifying decision. He cut the rope to save himself. Joe plunged into the icy void below, crashing onto a glacier before falling into a deep crevasse. Against all odds, he survived. With severe injuries and no hope of rescue, Joe crawled out of the crevasse and spent 3 days dragging himself across ice, rock, and snow. Somehow, he made it back to base camp alive. His incredible survival story later became the world-famous film and book, Touching the Void. In 1992, Chris Duddy, Michael Benson, and Craig Hosking spent 2 days inside the crater of the active Kilauea volcano after their helicopter crashed. When the helicopter suddenly lost control, pilot Craig Hosking reportedly did not even have time to call for help. When the helicopter fell into the volcanic crater, they narrowly avoided landing in boiling lava, and all managed to escape through a small crack in the wreckage. While the 3 men waited for rescue, hot lava bubbled beneath their feet, and they had already come to terms with what they believed would be a terrible death.